Guys, this is me, it's Queen Haru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Well, Happy New Year. And today I got 10 questions for you guys. You guys were fast, man. So I got 10 questions for you guys to answer for my Q&A. So let us begin. Number one, the first question says, can you give me an easy ritual for the new year? Okay. Every new year, on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, one of the easiest rituals that any layman can do is to cleanse your home. One thing about me you guys will notice is that I don't have a tendency to give a lot of rituals or spells or things like that on YouTube. And it's not because anything is wrong with it. It's just that I don't know where people are with their understanding of magic. And I don't want to give you something to do when you mess yourself up, quite frankly. So the things I do give you guys are things that anybody can do. So on the new year, one thing that is smart is to clear away everything from 2018. So clean your home. You know, a lot of people do this on New Year's Eve, but you can do it on New Year's Eve because you're going into the new year. And if you haven't done it already, New Year's Day is not too late. So you can cleanse your home physically. Physically cleanse it, and then, wash all your clothes. Don't take, all that 2018 dirt into 2019. And then when you're finished with that, use sage, Palo Santo, frankincense, and myrrh, some kind of cleansing agent to cleanse your home spiritually. So that is a very easy, very effective ritual for the new year. Cleanse away the year before so new auspicious energy can come in from 2019. Okay? That's a good one. I like that one. That's an easy question. All right. Number two, why do you have so many deal breakers? I have so many deal breakers because at one time in my life, I didn't have any deal breakers. When I was a young girl and I first started to date, I was more of an Aquarian in the sense that my mind was more open. I was more open to dating anybody, male or female, and I didn't have a lot of deal breakers, And what happened is that from not having really any deal breakers, I realized that you need deal breakers. I realized that certain things from people is just not acceptable. And if you're willing to accept them, you're going to get the worst of people every time. So I would date somebody who, let's say, didn't have a job, or I would date somebody who wasn't where they needed to be in life, or somebody who had mental health issues, or something like that. I don't do those things anymore. Those are all deal breakers now, but they're deal breakers because of trial and error. I've already dealt with those things. I've probably dealt with everything, or if I didn't personally deal with it, I know somebody who dealt with it or counsel somebody who else dealt with something. I've seen all these things, so I know how they're probably going to go, or how they can go, positive or negative, and I know what things I don't want to deal with. So I have a lot of deal breakers because I have standards, and you should too. And when you don't have standards, that's when people run all over you, tell you any old kind of thing, treat you badly, beat you up, steal your money. When you don't have deal breakers, people take advantage of you. They exploit you. So you have to have deal breakers. There's certain things that are just not acceptable. Dealing with somebody who's broke is a deal breaker for me. I'm tired of being broke. Personally, I'm not ever going to be broke again. So I'm not going to deal with somebody who has a poverty consciousness. Certain things like that, it's just like from trial and error. I've done these things already. I've already dealt with somebody who was, who was broke. I've dealt with somebody who was just friends with benefits. That's why I tell you, don't do that. That shit don't work. Those are my deal breakers because I've already done them and they don't work. So again, if you don't have standards, people are going to do anything to you. And if that's on you, if you don't want to have standards, if you want to let people just do anything to you and come into your life any old kind of way, yeah, okay. You keep on letting them people come into your life like that. It's detrimental to your life. But if that's what you want to do, son, keep it moving. Number three, can you tell us a bit more on living in Costa Rica? Why did you decide to move there? I decided to move to Costa Rica because it was just on my short list. I had a list of places that I wanted to go. The reason why I left the United States is because I've never been content with the United States. The United States to me is a very unpleasant place. It always has been. It treats women of color, it treats people of color, it treats women, it treats people who don't have money, it treats certain groups of people bad. Certain groups of people are at the bottom of the totem pole, and I'm in all them groups. So I didn't want to be at the bottom of the totem pole getting oppressed by the United States anymore. Also, for those of you who remember correctly, my people didn't want to be there in the first place. But I'm not going to get into that. That's a long diatribe. The bottom line is that I just never liked it, especially when I got old enough to understand what was going on. And that's why I decided to leave. Then I had a short list of places that I wanted to go, and Costa Rica was on the list because I liked it. Costa Rica is a really cool place. It has some things, some philosophies that I agree with. For example, they don't have an army. Okay, I strongly don't believe in war. Another thing that they have is renewable energy. They use like solar energy, wind energy, water energy. I believe strongly in finding, new renewable energy sources. So I looked at my short list, and Costa Rica was at the top of the list. Costa Rica is basically living here is a Latin American country. Is very Spanish. Everybody speaks Spanish. They speak a little English too. Most people anyway. It's a beautiful place. It's a very small country, very quiet, very peaceful place. If the people here are very cool, they're very open-hearted, they're very conservative, and it's not far from the States, so I can get back if I need to go back. Costa Rica is just a beautiful place. It's a really nice place. And that's why I moved here. Do your tattoos have any special meaning or story behind them? I have like 15 tattoos, literally. But they're not all piled on top of each other. So when you look at my body, you can see them in different places and everything. Ganesha's over here, and I got protection symbols. I got butterflies. I got all kinds of stuff going on. And one of my tattoos goes from my ankle to my hip. And each one, yes, it does have a special meaning. Each one has some type of meaning, something that is a part of me or something that I'm a part of. Like this one. This is the triple goddess symbol. See the 3 moons there? That's the maiden, the mother, and the old crone. So this is symbolic of magic, and it's symbolic of the goddess. Each one of them means something different. This one that you really can't see that good says love. It's hard to see it though because of the way my arm is curved, but it says love. So each one is a different symbol of something that means something to me or a group that I'm a part of. For example, the lesbian symbol. I did that one mostly because I wanted to get women. It's like letting them know. It's like an advertisement. Like, hey, right here, Because a lot of women would tell me I didn't look gay. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm going to change that. And Ganesha is here because I love Ganesha. I just got that one recently. So yeah, each one has a story. Each one is symbolic of something, every last one of them. The rose here, this here, the rose that goes along with the butterfly is all about my own personal evolution and blossoming and transformation. So you can't see them all obviously, but every one of them has a different meaning. I have one on my right leg that is a tribute to my father. So it's his name and his date of birth and his date of death, and an angel. Because he passed over. And I have the other one I told you from my ankle to my hip is a snake. The snake is representational of having mastery over magic. So it wraps around my leg up to my hip. And where it stops at is an Aquarius. I have an Aquarius tattooed on my thigh. I have the goddess Mayat tattooed on my lower back, representational of balance. That the goddess is the balance in my life. So all of them mean something, and I think, basically all symbols mean something. Just, do you know what it means is the question. All right. Now, let me see. Where did you do Priestess Training? Priestess Training is amazing. Basically, this is what happened. I found books. There are lots of books. There are lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of books on how to self-initiate into any tradition you want to self-initiate into. We're talking Wicca, Egyptian Maya, whatever. There's lots of them. You can find them on Amazon. So I was in a bookstore and I found 2 books on how to initiate as a priestess. And I bought them and I kept them for a long time. I didn't even crack them open for years. And when I went through the situation with Voldemort and I came out on the other side of it, I was like, I got to change my life or this shit gonna kill me. So I started my priestess training. Goddess all set and she came to me and I was like, that's it, I'm doing it. So I used the books to do it. Now mind you, the books are just like a guide, so then on top of those, spirit led me to different things to read, different things to do, and then I finished with my own self-initiation. Now mind you, this took me 8 years. This was not a quick process. This took 8 years, and all I did was basically follow the book and anything the spirit guided me to learn. So I learned a lot. I learned about how to do different forms of divination. I can do tarot. I can do oracle cards. I can use a pendulum. I can do mediumship. I can do channeling. I can do candle magic. I can do all kinds of different stuff. Priestess training was all about meditation and going inside yourself. I can do all kind of things I learned in those 8 years. So that's how I did priestess training. Now, there are other ways to do priestess training. You can do a school. You can do a group of people. You can initiate into a tradition like Yoruba, Ifa, Santeria, Wicca. You can you can come to a coven and initiate. But the thing about it was that when I first started learning, I couldn't find anything that I really was feeling. I couldn't find anybody I felt comfortable teaching me. And one of the things the spirit always told me was, you're not being given a human teacher. And I never was. And I realized after it was over, I wasn't given a human teacher because spirit led me directly through the books. Basically Lord Tahuti, for some of you who know, his name is Thoth. They call him Thoth in some of the traditions, but we call him Tahuti in the Egyptian, in the Kemetic tradition. And Tahuti led me directly led me to which books to get, which meditations to do. And after I was led through that process, I started writing my own book of the process that I went through. So now when I train priestesses, I train them the way Tahuti trained me. The things he taught me, the things he taught me to do, exactly the same way. So now it's a whole, I guess it's kind of almost my own tradition almost, being taught how to teach people how to do it. So that is how I did my priestess training. Have you ever dated someone who harmed you physically? No. Thank God, no. None of my dates ever harmed me. I'm sure a couple of them probably wanted to kick my ass, but none of them did. The only person who's ever physically harmed me was my ex-husband. I was married to a man when I was like 18, and I stayed with him till I was like 20 something, and I divorced him at like 22 or something. So he was physically abusive. The cops would come to the crib. It was awful. And basically he's just a big bully. He's a big ass guy. He's huge. He's like 6'5", and like at the time he was like over 300 pounds. He was just a huge guy. And he would try, I would try to fight him off me best I could, because I wasn't, I was a fighter. I was from the hood, so I'm not just going to stand there and let you hit me. But it was like impossible to fight this massive wall coming towards me. So we had a couple really bad fights, and I got a restraining order. After it was a couple years of me trying, because I tried to work through it. And abusers always say they're sorry and we went to therapy. I tried to fix it, is what it was. One thing about me is whenever something goes wrong, I try to fix it first. And once I can't fix it, then I'm done. And that's what happened with my ex-husband. I tried to fix it. I couldn't fix it. I left. I met him at 15. I divorced him when I left him when I was 21. And I divorced him somewhere like 22, 23, somewhere around there. So, yeah, he was physically abusive. But none of my other dates were. I never had that problem before him or after him. Before him, it just never happened. And after him, I was diligent. I was like, if anybody shows any signs of abuse around me, I get the hell away from them now. Because I know where that goes, you know? Like I told you, my experiences have been trial and error. What do you do for a living in Costa Rica? I am a teacher. I teach English online, but most of the time I'm doing readings, and magic. I do a lot of magic for people, a lot of spells and things. That's what I mostly do. I do some English classes, but mostly that's what I do. I also train priestesses, like I said. So my spiritual work is the bulk of what I do. And that's what I do for a living. I've always done that for a living. Before that, I was a teacher. I was a high school teacher. I've always pretty much been a teacher or a social worker in some kind of way. That's pretty much what I've always done. I did construction training when I was young, and I did security for a number of years. But most of the time, I've been a teacher or a social worker in some kind of capacity. What advice would you give someone who wants to relocate but not sure on where they want to go? I would say if you want to relocate someplace, make a short list of the places you want to go and research every place thoroughly. Make sure you research the immigration laws of will you be able to move there or not. And research, can you work? Research all of that. Research everything about the country, its laws, its taxes, all that kind of stuff. And then after you've done researching them and you've narrowed it down to one or two that's good, go visit. Go visit more than once and check the place out. Get to know the people. Try to make some connections there. Get on Facebook online and start talking to people who live in that country, Get all the information you can and visit as many times as you can before you actually make the plunge. Because, once you jump, you can always go back if you have to. But the thing about it is you don't really want to do that. You want to go. You just want to keep going, right? So that's what you do. And then you go visit, you check it out, and rent. Always rent. Don't buy anything right away. Because sometimes you might find that you might not like that neighborhood. You might not like that particular city, So give yourself a chance. Rent, stay at different places. You can do short-term rentals. You can do long-term rentals. I do Airbnb. I stay in Airbnb every country I go to. And you can stay as long as you want in Airbnb. You can stay for a month. I've been in this Airbnb here. I've been here for like months. I've been here since July. And no intentions upon going nowhere, And when I do, I just go to another Airbnb. Just move on, So don't buy anything right away because you don't know where you want to live at first. Give yourself a chance to explore the country without committing to a lease or a contract or whatever. And let's see the next one. What is the worst situation you put yourself in? For those of you who heard the Voldemort story, that was the worst situation I've ever been in. I have a video called Who is Voldemort? And I'm going to tag it underneath this video for those of you who didn't see it. But Voldemort was the last man that I ever had a relationship with. I broke up with him when I was like 29 or something like that years old. And he was emotionally abusive, mentally abusive, and narcissistic. And it's interesting because I just thought about the fact that I was conscious of the physical abuse, but I wasn't conscious of those other abuses until I got into the relationship with Voldemort. Because I never had another physically abusive relationship, but that one snuck up on me, seriously. And that was the worst situation I ever put myself in. I was messing with a dude who was crazy, in a friends with benefits situation, ended up being emotionally involved with him, emotionally attached to him. And it was just bad. It was bad all the way around. It was a bad relationship. It was hard to get away from him, and it was hard to heal it. And it was the worst situation I've ever been in because it was the worst one. It was the hardest one to get rid of, and it was the hardest one to get out of, and it was the hardest one to heal. I'm just now finishing healing that vibration, and that shit took a long time. So, yeah, Voldemort is my biggest regret. I wish I had never met Voldemort. But if I hadn't met Voldemort, I wouldn't have became me, who I am now. Because the old me was cutting up. The old me thought I could do whatever I wanted. So that karma kicking me in the ass changed my life. So when I think about regretting him, I don't regret becoming a different person though. So, some of the times those two things go hand in hand. Queen, would you ever do a meet and greet? Yes, I would do a meet and greet. I'm actually planning a goddess retreat right now for women. It would be 15 to 20 women here in Costa Rica, and I'm planning it right now. I'm trying to find a great place for it, great prices for things, so I can make that available because I can only take 15 to 20 women. So what I want to do is I want to have that up and ready so we can start to pay for that and get ready to move towards it. I'm hoping to get it ready by the end of February for us to be able to start working, towards it, and maybe have the goddess retreat itself like a couple months later. As far as an informal meet and greet, people just coming together, because I'm in Costa Rica, it's kind of difficult, obviously. If people wanted to come here and meet and greet, that would be fine with me. Or the next time I'm in the States, I'm supposed to be in the States in July. The first time I will have ever gone back to the States. And if I do go for this event, this conference, then I possibly could do a meet and greet in Philadelphia and Baltimore when I come up that way. So it's very possible. It's very, very possible. We're going to talk about that a lot more. But the goddess retreat is definitely happening, and I'm working on it right now. Last question. Are you bi or les? I'm very confused because you have a daughter, but you seem to be really into women. I am very into women. But the thing about it is this. Okay, I am a lesbian. I lived as a bisexual for a long time. From the time that I remember liking men or women or understanding what that even meant, I was like 3 or 4. I always liked both. I didn't really see a difference between the two. And what happened is that I learned to hide that. My mother did not like bulldaggers, and she made that very clear to me. And I realized from what she was saying at a young age that I was a bulldagger. And I'm like, shit, she talking about me. So I learned to hide it, basically, because I'm Aquarius. I'm going to do me. So it wasn't like, her objections made me say, oh, I'm not going to do this. It just made me hide it. So relations that I had with women, I hid. And the relations I had with men, I did, up and up. Everybody, they knew who my boyfriend was, but you didn't know the little girl I was kissing behind the truck, So that's basically what happened. And then as I got older, I found that women have my heart. Women just have my heart. They turn my head. Women just attract me in a way that men never can, never could, never will. It's like a peacock. They just, I'm just like, huh? Like a moth to a flame, And I found out through dating, both through trial and error, that it was easier for me to have relationships with women, that I liked them a lot more, romantically speaking, and that I did better in platonic friendship relationships with men. So one day I decided no more men. I was like, I ain't doing that no more, because it just seemed to me like it was a bad idea, because it was like the definition of insanity is to do something continuously and expect different results. So I wasn't insane enough to really believe that I was going to get a different result from my relationships with men. I realized that it wasn't working for me. So I was like, well, I'm going to just do what works. And never had regrets, never looked back. For a long time, I would play with men though. Oh God, I would tease them. I would play with them, like not physically play with them, but like tease them and play with them and like talk to them and like flirt with them. Knowing that I'm a microwave and ain't nothing happening. And sometimes I still do flirt a bit, but I just learned to reel that shit back. Because men get very angry with me when I done played with them and they find out I'm a lesbian. They get so mad. They're like, You know, they're pissed after that, and it's part of their vendetta at that point to try to turn me around. You know, so I just stopped. I stopped that. You know, I'll flirt with a waiter or a security guard or something like that, just in fun. But I stopped that because I realized the reason why I would play with them wasn't because of the fact to just be fun or flirty. Back then, it was really just to stab a knife right in their neck, like, aha, you can't have it, you know, kind of energy. So I was like, oh God, grow up, you know, come away from that. And I did. So now I have men that I respect, men that I know, male friends. But the last man I actually had a relationship with was Voldemort. And I was like 29 years old. I'm 41 now, you know. That was the last time. And I'm glad. I'm really glad because that was the best decision I ever made. That was, other than moving to Costa Rica, that was the best decision I ever made. So, yeah, so to answer your question, I am a lesbian who used to live as a bisexual. I think if I had had better relationships with men, I probably would have stayed open to trying it again. But because of the fact it didn't work, it was awful. It just wasn't good for me. So I'd make a much better friend to my brothers. Trust me. So yeah, that's it. All right, guys, that was question number 10. 10, yeah, it was 10. So that's the end of our Q&A. You had some great questions. And so that tells you a little bit more about me and my weird life. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your interest. And underneath this video, I am going to leave my PayPal information in case you want to make a love donation. I'm also going to leave the information from my email in case you want to make an appointment for a reading or a tarot reading or oracle card reading, or if you want to, you know, get magic done or something like that. I'll also leave my email in case you want to ask me a free question about Aquarius or about your life or something like that, a free general question. And I will also leave the information for my social media. People have been telling me, you know, I want to hit you up on Facebook. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram. So I'm going to drop that information underneath this video too. Thanks for listening. See you later.